When trying to verify the truth of a proposition, one of the most valuable tools is the power of prediction. If one's hypothesis predicts a particular event that other theories do not predict, then should that unlikely event come to pass, this indicates the truth of the proposed hypothesis. This is critically important when trying to verify the truth of the Bible. Throughout the Bible, one finds numerous unusual prophecies and predictions about future events. By analyzing these prophetic statements and how they occurred throughout history, a strong case for divine foreknowledge emerges. Consider for a moment the Deuteronomistic prophecies coded in chapters 28 to 30. These terrifying predictions lay out what will befall the Jewish nation if they abandon their God. Many of these pronouncements are cryptic and do not subject themselves to scientific analysis, but a number of them are unambiguous and can be analyzed through the crucible of history. God promises His people that because of their rebellion, they will be captured by a distant nation who does not speak their language. He also promises that this invading force will not only kill the Jewish combatants, but will pillage and destroy, killing young and old alike. Additionally, God promises that the remaining Jewish people will be sent off to exile and dispersed through the world, forced to be submissive interlopers in the land of others. Additionally, God promises that despite the harsh exile, the Jewish people will survive and not be annihilated or become assimilated into their host culture. Amazingly, every one of these prophecies were fulfilled in the year 70 BCE with the Roman siege and destruction of the Second Temple. While we often believe that in the ancient world invading armies slaughtered the inhabitant of their conquered territory, the truth is that such an event was exceedingly rare. Most conquests were ultimately fueled by economic concerns, subjugating and taxing colonies. Decimating the population would lend to an extreme loss in tax revenue, and most armies not only spared their subjects' lives, they even allowed them to keep most of their laws and religious beliefs. This policy of conquest was true for most Oriental empires, Greece, the Hellenistic kingdoms, the Assyrian Empire, and even the Romans. Yet when the Romans destroyed the temple, they utterly laid waste the entire Jerusalem, killing and exiling its inhabitants, and rendering it a shadow of its former self for the next 2 millennia. The Bible also predicts that the Jews would be unable to speak the language of their conquerors. This is again quite unusual. Most small kingdoms know the language of their surrounding neighbors, especially those possessing vast empires. Yet Jerusalem was destroyed by the Latin-speaking Romans, possessing a language utterly unknown to the Aramaic and Hebrew-speaking Jewish population. Even the supposedly cultured and Hellenized Jews spoke Greek, in addition to Hebrew and Aramaic, not the foreign language of the Romans. Additionally, God promises that the conquerors will come from a distant land. This is again quite unusual in the ancient world, where most conquests were perpetrated by neighbors who had built their army and were intent on expanding their territory. Yet Jerusalem was sacked by the distant Rome, and Julius Severus, the general who overthrew the Jews, was the governor of Britain, and he traveled from his homeland to end the revolt. The fact that the Torah predicts a worldwide dispersal of the Jewish exiles is also remarkable. The dispersal of the Jewish people across the continents has no parallel in world history. Other nations have been exiled, but they usually resettle in a new homeland or are absorbed by a host culture. The Torah also predicts that we would survive the exile. This again has no historical precedent, and a human author would have to be a fool to write such a statement. Each of these prophecies is deeply unlikely and offer a predictive test of the Bible's veracity. One or two unlikely predictions can be attributed to mere luck, but the uncanny ability for the Torah to repeatedly foretell future events points to a divine author.